Hi everyone, wishing everyone is safe and healthy during this time period. Of course, like always, being unable to go out and coach has been absolutely killing me, but I've got a lot of time in my hands and thought I'd give players, young and older players alike, something that will help them develop their brains if they aren't able to work on anything else. A deep analysis of one of my favorite players, Sergio Busquets, one of the finest defensive midfielders of this generation. I'm going to immensely slow down some of the best short highlights from this player's career and try my best to explain how he was able to do what he did in hopes that you can gain some type of insight. Now, it should be noted that just because he is a defensive midfielder, it does not mean that this video does not apply to you just because you play in a different position. Now to get started, you don't see it at first, but in just a second you will see that Busquets' center back is there on the right side of the screen. Busquets cleverly uses his center back as a decoy and uses a quick skill to get the defender going in another direction. And then he also cleverly finds his teammate ahead of him. Now here's some more of the same action here in the second clip. He has a teammate behind him and uses him as a decoy. This time he uses a much quicker skill to turn away. Now, it should be noted that opponents will only fall for these body feints and pass fakes if they know that you are a willing passer. More often than not, it shouldn't be the first or second thing you try to do in-game. Get your defender's mind used to one thing first, by passing and moving, and then you can keep your defender guessing by faking him out. It should also be noted that in order to use these skills, you have to know that you have these skills in your arsenal. That means taking the technical work that we do as a team seriously and working on these skills yourself. Now here's more of a defensive clip. Here Barcelona is currently defending and the attacker just took a shot that hit the post and the ball suddenly finds its way in Busquets' path. Now, Busquets doesn't panic. Most players would normally just clear the ball away and give his team a chance to win the 50-50 ball or reset defensively. Instead, he uses his skill to neutralize any threat that was coming and keeps possession for his team. It's the little things that every player has to learn step by step. 1. The judgment. Knowing the situation, knowing where the ball is going, knowing who is around, and knowing who the biggest threat is. 2. Dealing with the situation. After determining who the biggest threat is, he eliminates him by getting in between him and the ball. And 3. The technique. The strength to shield the threat off the ball and opening his hips to turn. Moving on is a very simple clip here. Busquets checks in about 2 to 3 yards to receive a pass which draws a defender's attention. Players have to know how much of a difference 2 to 3 yards can make. Before he even receives the ball, Busquets checks over his shoulder to see that there's space and his teammates right behind him and just dummies it, or leaves it. Now this clip is a very good example of the importance of checking over your shoulder before even receiving a pass. He knows he can dummy it because he knows he drew the only defender in the vicinity by checking in 2 to 3 yards, giving the illusion that he plans to be involved in the play. If he just stays here where he originally was and lets the ball run all the way across field, this defender who is off screen at the moment knows that Busquets doesn't even have a chance to be involved in the play and can just follow the pass. And now it's suddenly 5 yards less that the defender has to travel to catch up to the pass, to Rakitic. Here, a defensive tackling highlight where this white team looks like they are about to counter. In any sport, defense is all about effort, whether it's football, basketball, or soccer, it doesn't matter. Busquets makes the effort to get closer to Semedo, his right back, to cut off a lane. He doesn't get too close though because he trusts that Semedo can do his job if the attacker decides to go this way. Instead, he stops on his toes, ready to react and covers anything he knows his teammate can't reach. He also doesn't commit and try to win the ball immediately. He waits and sees that the attacker controls the ball down with the inside of his left foot, spreads himself wide to cover as much area as he can and wins the tackle. Now, one can argue that Busquets didn't need to go down to ground for this, but the point is that he won the tackle. Another tackling highlight here. This attacker sees Busquets is in front of him and tries to take a touch away from Busquets. Busquets closes him down, and in an attempt to get away from him, this attacker tries to pass fake to get away. Busquets doesn't panic, however. He doesn't commit. He contains, reacts, and wins a tackle. Here, most young players would panic and fly right by this attacker to get in front of whatever they believe this player is trying to attempt. But players have to understand, a person this far out and under this much pressure has absolutely no reason to want to take a shot. 2. These types of angles don't typically warrant crossing opportunities, so even if the attacker put a cross in, Busquets trusts his defenders to deal with it because it's not that dangerous of a position. And 3, because this attacker isn't threatening a shot or a cross, he doesn't have to overcommit like it's a dangerous or urgent opportunity. This will be the last defensive highlight I'll show you guys, and there isn't much to say about this clip. The attacker has his back turned towards Busquets and he's simply applying loads and loads of pressure. This is more of me emphasizing that when anyone has their back turned towards you, that's when anyone who is defending absolutely has to apply pressure. Too many young players would be where Jordi Alba is currently when a player has his back turned. Busquets might also be nudging him in the back a bit with his hands, but that's okay. He's not extending his arms or deliberately pushing anyone. If the ref decides to call fouls, then you simply adjust your aggressiveness, but you must still be on the attacker's back. Busquets waits, and as soon as he feels the attacker is off balance enough, he wraps his leg around the attacker to win the tackle. Then he stays composed, strong, and then looks for a cheeky way out of pressure. His teammate Luis Suarez once said that there is one simple rule. If Sergio's looking at you, then you know he won't pass you the ball, which is funny and true. Busquets has almost patented the ability to deceive opponents with his eyes and body positioning. In this next highlight, you can see Busquets has a bit of space and looking up to see what he wants to do next. He wants to pass forward, but there are about 4 defenders in front of him, so he has to figure out a way to create a passing lane. In the bottom left corner, you can see the shadow of one of his teammates just coming into screen. Now, instead of taking the easy option and going to that teammate, Busquets faces his body and takes a touch towards him. This was enough to make 2 defenders hesitate for a half second and allowed the ball to run by them, finding Messi's feet. Same thing here in this play, but with a few minor differences. The deception here already began with his first touch. You see that he took his first touch towards this teammate here, and then turned his whole front body towards him as well. The moment he swings his leg, this defender runs towards that teammate, thinking it was going to him, but instead, the ball went straight down the passing lane. Last example here. Like the first example, he gets multiple defenders with this move, but unlike the first example, the defenders truly fall for it. You're going to see that Busquets has 2 teammates at the bottom of the screen. Like the last play, the deception begins on his first touch. He turns on his first touch and faces his entire body directly parallel to his teammates on the outside. As I slow this play down, you can see he will deceive 5 total defenders just by using a simple move like this, and he's able to find the one and only Lionel Messi's feet again. Now that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys are really taking these analysis to heart. There's a real magic when you guys actually analyze everything professionals have to decipher on their own in a matter of milliseconds, okay? I've left a link to the original video that I took these clips off of in the description. Feel free to sit back and slow these videos down yourselves. I will see you guys hopefully very soon.